Hi everybody, I thought today I would do a video about either lessons I've learnt in 2016 or lessons I learnt before but really put into practice in 2016. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that in the last couple of years, 3 or 4 years, I have struggled with stress and stress management. I think it's just a build-up of lots of things, moving countries, moving back to the UK. People talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's often in relation to a big trauma, but it can also be in relation to lots of little traumas, one on top of the other. I'm not saying I've had post-traumatic stress disorder, but I have definitely had some of the symptoms, and I went for therapy. I went for therapy when I was starting to get quite physically ill, and that was a couple of years ago now, maybe even 3 years ago, and it was so helpful. She taught me stress management techniques and calming techniques. Just being aware of stress, really, and then when you're aware that that's what it is, using calming techniques. And most of it was related to bilateral stimulation, which I think you can even just do by walking, because you're walking one foot in front of the other and it's stimulating both sides of your brain, and watching trees swaying in the wind and things like that. So going for walks is brilliant for that, but there's other techniques you can use, like, tapping one thigh and then the other and that sort of thing. I'm not going to go through what the therapies actually are, but that is something that I learned a little while ago, but definitely kept in practice during last year. Really making sure I take care of myself in order to not have so many little traumas or big traumas. So self-care things for me are things like seeing friends, exercising, eating a healthy diet, watching comedies on TV, generally just making sure I take care of myself. So self-care, very important. Comment below what self-care routines or things that you do. That's always going to be helpful in this little community to share them with each other, and it will probably be helpful to me as well. One of the things that my therapist talked to me quite a lot about was transaction analysis, and the key phrase that has really helped me through so much is remaining in my adult. So rather than responding in situations as a child that's been wrongly accused or is being told off, I just think, right, this person probably shouldn't be speaking to me like that, but that doesn't mean I need to react. I can be the mature person in this situation. And another amazing thing that doesn't sound very amazing but has an amazing effect is whenever I feel I'm being railroaded into something or hijacked from doing something, I can just say, I don't want to, or but I want to. And my therapist was saying to me as I was discussing different things, and she would say, so what would you say to that person that was trying to make you do that or trying to prevent you doing that? I'd say, but I need to do that for whatever reason. And she would say, well, no, because they'll be able to argue with you about that, and they'll try to reason with you that you don't need to. So you need to say, I want, or I don't want. And it works like magic, because you can't argue with that, can you? And then having boundaries in place in the first place really prevents a lot of the hijacking that can happen in your life. If you're very clear about where your boundaries are, you can communicate that to other people. What you're prepared to do, what you're prepared to give your time to, what you're not prepared to give your time to, etc. Another thing that's been really useful is understanding the roles that I've got in other people's lives and how they don't have to be fixed and they can be flexible. So for the quite vulnerable people in my life, like Darcy, who's very young, although she's turned 18 now, and my dad, who is getting on in life and needs a bit of help with stuff, sometimes I do need to be the rescue person. But I don't have to have that role all the time, and I don't have to be in that mode of rescuing them all the time, just occasionally. And other times I can just be a companion and a support. So that's really helpful to pause and think as I'm planning my time, okay, do I need to take on that role, or can I just be a support? So that really helps with life balance. And just in terms of what I want to do with my life, another very effective little thing that again doesn't seem to be really profound but has a very profound effect is the minute I start finding myself saying, I ought to do this, I need to do that, I have to do that, stop myself and think, do I want to? Is this something I want to do? And sometimes you do want to do things that you also need to do, but a lot of the time I have found, no, I don't want to. Why do I feel I ought to then? Where is that coming from? What pressure is that coming from? So that's been very liberating and really helped me find a sense of myself, being my own person, and what I want to do with my life. Another thing in terms of stress, or the fight or flight threat response, is your brain kind of goes into emergency mode and kind of looks for the problems and the dangers, and it can go into either awful-ising, if that's a word, or catastrophizing. And I've learnt to step back from that and think, okay, I'm going into catastrophizing mode, things are not that bad probably. Then just kind of try to see the lighter side of things. I came up with a phrase the other day, maybe somebody else has come up with it before, but ditch the dread and find the fun is quite a good way of, whenever you feel that sense of dread and catastrophe, think, no, ditch that and find the fun. And just making sure I have got a lot of fun things in my life that I can immediately turn to the minute I feel that. Now, in balance with that, where there are situations in your life that are actually kind of threatening to your safety or your mental health, you do need to have those boundaries in place. And sometimes what can happen is when something bad has happened, your brain kind of blocks it out because it's not nice thinking about that all the time. So it's also making sure you take note of different things that happen, different situations that you're vulnerable to, and facing the reality of those, acknowledging the reality of those. So it's, managing your brain really, isn't it? All about this neuroscience stuff again. So keeping a reality check in there about things that you have to remind yourself are not so good, and not get lulled into a full sense of security. One of the things I've found when I've been trying to grapple with different situations and have had lots of advice from other people, I've been the kind of person that's tended to just assume other people probably know better than me. And a couple of years ago, I came to the point where I thought, no, I was right all along. So I've really been learning to believe in myself, believe in my own knowledge and wisdom and experience, because, at my age, I have built up quite a lot of that. So it's learning to really believe in that. That balanced, however, with strengthening my support network and having people that I can go to, not necessarily to hear their advice because they know better than me, but just people to talk to, people to share what's going on and just have a laugh with, and just even human contact and social connection is just very supportive. There are quite a few other things, but those are the main ones. So hopefully you found those helpful, and put in the comments below lessons that you've learnt in 2016 or had really consolidated and found really helped. See you next time. Bye.